court to the. Okay, in reference to the SEC case, first thing they did was they perjured themselves under oath. Actually, that was one of the other reasons why the federal judge dismissed the case. It was not only that, but because he saw that they were after a collateral attack since the beginning. So the first thing that happened was the SEC came to me, and they came with a complaint early in 2014, I think it was, or 2012. And they started seeing it. They said, everybody's saying you got all this money, you're not paying taxes. What are you doing? You're doing illegal stuff. So then when they came to me, they tried to say, hey, listen, you have all this, everybody's saying you have all these assets, so everything you have is fake. You don't have it. So, wow. So what I did was, I said, oh, really? So I went and took like my stones, the big emeralds, all that stuff, and I paid and had somebody bring it on a truck and sit it in their conference room in Atlanta. Along with this document from Bloomberg that shows that I submitted them legally through Bloomberg. You see the asset list here? When I got on Bloomberg, when Bloomberg gave me that thing that says that we are worth 500 trillion plus, you'll see it in here. When they gave me that, this came directly from Bloomberg. I even recorded the conversation. I always record everything. He said, and I gave them this, and I said, check in one moment. I'm not seeing the additional attachment. There's the asset list, right? He says, perfect. Just thought I'd try using the interface. So I asked them in the conversation, well, who actually audits all of our stuff? And they said, Edgar. You know who Edgar is? Edgar is the SEC. You know, Edgar is a part of the SEC. And, you know, I do a lot of research. Edgar is part of the SEC. Their job is to validate assets. So they themselves validated the assets that they claimed that I didn't have. So when I showed them here, this is the Bloomberg, and you guys validated the assets, but just so you can have further validation, here, I put the stuff right on their desk. Say, what are you bringing all this stuff in here? And I said, listen, I brought all them emeralds, jewels, gems, bonds right to their desk, and plop, sat and scratched their conference table. Since you guys are claiming I don't have anything. Then they issued this letter after that on August 14, 2012, and this letter says, in the matter of U.S. capital funding 2 versus SEC, dear Mr. Fowler, this investigation has been completed as to you, against whom we do not intend to recommend any enforcement action by the commission. We're providing this information under the guidelines in the final paragraph Securities Act release number 5310. Now, this is after Matthew had already slandered me the first time. And you'll be surprised when you find out why he slandered me. I didn't even know this until Ricky investigated it from the international court. So they gave me this, and then when they gave me this, since my name was already ruined, I started adding this to the Smart Plan email. You know, when people register, I said, well, this is the SEC, and they've cleared me already. And then they said, you can't use our letter. I said, you don't understand mail. Once something travels through the mail and it's addressed to me, and I kept the envelope, it's mine. It has nothing to do with you. So mind you, I'm telling them, this is my letter. It's not yours anymore. You sent it to me.
Yeah, no confidentiality agreements unless it's said there.
Yeah, because whoever it was, the guy that was starting all of this stuff was a new jack. You know, he really didn't understand what he was doing. So then the next year, they came with that case because when I was in his office the first time, his wife, the guy Matthew's wife, critically laughed at him and everything, and then she eventually divorced him.
Wow.
And you're gonna blame it on me. I don't know anything about your personal affairs. I was just trying to solve my problem. You know,
That's it.
she
That's it.
laughed at him because she was there.
Wow.
So then he came back to me and they filed this case. No, that's my case, the public response. I'll show you what I gave them after. They filed the case that you just sent me, the SEC case. And that was a year later because I guess he got so, inundated with the stress. Because I know I've been through a divorce. It was very, I actually felt sorry for him when I went through mine after. I was like, I should not have been so hard on this guy because I know what it is. But anyway, he had no right to come after me because his wife ridiculed him. That has nothing to do with me. I didn't even know anything about all that. Matter of fact, when they did that, the next thing they did, they came through and what did they do? They sent the case that you just sent me. In that case, I'm trying to find, here it is, the case overview. They sent this case and filed charges against me, again, saying that they had people that was complaining that we was fraudulently taking money. Mind you, they don't even understand the way our bank works. We give money. We don't take money. So they said that we was claiming that we was a prime bank, all of these different things, that you're not a bank, no, we're not a statutory bank. UCC 4-105, we're a trust, a non-statutory trust. See, when you come to me and you're speaking about law, at least know the law. Bank means a person engaged in the business of banking, including a savings bank, savings and loan association, credit union, or trust company. The only time you need to have a statutory license is if you're dealing with citizens.
Yep.
The reason why the way I got around that is I make people register and sign a smart plan so they're no longer under their jurisdiction, they're under ours, which is safer for them anyway because now they're not subject to FATCA. FATCA is the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. Let's see, FA, here it is, I'll go back here. And what that does is, if you don't, Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, FATCA. What this does is the IRS has the right to go and search the accounts of any citizen, which the IRS doesn't have any rights at all because there's no taxation without representation. The only way you pay in tax right now is because you volunteered. I filed for a 9-8 number. That 9-8 number means that I'm a non-taxable entity. I'm a freeman on the land since God made Adam. And God said, I'll give you the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, and dominion over every creeping thing in 126 of Genesis. That means that how are you going to tax me for something I already own?
Yep, I agree.
And Congress shall make no law against the free exercise of religion and the practice thereof. So get out of here with that. And that's what I explained to them. You're coming in here, and even when I went for a traffic ticket one time, they said, how are you going to give me a ticket when I got an unalienable right to travel? I don't have to ask you for anything when I'm traveling around unless I make my living on the road.
Yep, as a commercial. Yep.
That's the law. So when I brought that to them, at that point, when I explained to them I was a sovereign, they kept bothering me. And mind you, I'm still running my business, right? I'm over there running my business and minding my business. Then when I noticed in this whole court case, they never claimed the defendants, because it's the way I read cases. When I'm reading through a case, I'm taking it apart like the Bible, line by line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. That's the way I read everything, because that was God's instruction to me. And it applies to everything you read. When I'm reading books on anything, physics or whatever, I take them apart like this. So they said, in fact, U.S. Capital does not own or control any assets. I said, that's not a fact. Because in the case, I showed them where you verified it, nigga.
That's funny.
Yeah, I went through the whole case, wrote everything down. They said funds at restaurants, grocery stores, gas stations, clothing stores, and withdrew thousands of dollars through ATM transactions, all kinds of nonsense they tried to charge me with. And now, mind you, I ignored this because I already knew I was a sovereign. I'm outside your jurisdiction. Get out of here. Don't bother me. And then nothing happened because for at least a month or so. Until then, Matthew sent this email to me. And now the email really got me because I don't get angry. You know, I'm a man of God. I know that people are crazy. We know that already. They've been crazy since Satan in the garden. So I don't pay any attention to that because he tries to draw us out of our energy. That's what he wants.
Yep.
He wants your zeal and your energy, and then, you know, does all kinds of crazy stuff to keep you off your mark. I'm on a mission from God. I ain't got time to be going back and forth with these people. So he sent this email to me. Now watch this. The first email was down here in the bottom. Now, this is after he already filed the case. He sent this email to me. He was the senior trial lawyer. He sent an email to me and it says, this is to inform you that the Securities and Exchange Commission today has filed a lawsuit against you and your company, U.S. Capital Funding 2 Series Trust 1, Inc. Mind you, we were not Inc. We were ETO. Alleged, that means Express Trust Organization. Alleging violations of the federal securities laws. This is after the thing happened the first time. This is after they already dismissed it the first time. It says the case has been assigned to Judge Stephen C. Jones, whose courtroom is 1907 on the 19th floor of Richard B. Russell Federal Building. Yeah, I don't know. Let me go back. You see that? So far, they sent me the email. I'm trying to figure out where I was just at. It opened up another browser window. Okay. And then he said, the judge set a hearing for our motion seeking a temporary restraining order, assets freeze. Now, you just told me in the case I don't have any assets. So what assets are you trying to freeze? See, most of the stuff, if you read it like a lawyer, you see it right away as bullcrap. How you going to tell me I don't have assets, but you getting ready to discuss a temporary restraining order against these assets that I don't have?
Yeah, laws verbatim.
Right. An order preventing destruction of documents for 2:30 p.m. this afternoon. I have dispatched the process server to personally serve you with the filing. They are on the way. So then I respond. He said, further to my message below, please know that Judge Jones has secured a hearing. Now, mind you, I told you before, I have a 1.7 million, but back then I had around 700,000 clients. So naturally, I don't get to read all these emails till after the fact. I didn't read the first one because I didn't care. It wasn't nothing. I got to take care of my clients first, right? So I'm trying to respond to all of them, and I never saw it. So he sent me another email. Further to my message below, please know that Judge Jones has scheduled a hearing request for a preliminary injunction Friday the 14th, 2013 in courtroom 1907 of the Richard B. Russell Federal Building. Attached are copies of the pleadings filed by the SEC case, as well as, that's when he sent me the case. So then I responded to him here as a gentleman. Look, trying to resend this email because it bounced back from the email address you gave. So you was even trying with the email with the sewer service like they did with the houses in 2008. You know, he said, we are interested in, I told him, gentlemen. I'm calling them gentlemen, by the way, because I'm acting like a sovereign, which is what we are. We provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and ensure domestic tranquility. We created the government, so they work for us. So I'm telling them, gentlemen, we are interested in settling these alleged balances with the unknown clients that you represent in case number blah, blah, blah. Please advise us of a time when we can speak with you regarding the same. This letter is not an admission of any guilt or any unlawful activity. It's an offer of remedy between U.S. Capital and the plaintiff and the clients being represented by you. Please respond to this email with a convenient time for us to contact you to arrange said remedy and a convenient number where you could be reached. Because when he filed the paperwork for me, first of all, I was in Hong Kong. Because we had an office in Hong Kong. I was doing all that one belt, one road stuff. So I gave him this email, and then he got belligerent with me and sent me this email. Mr. Fowler, I appreciate your offer to discuss settlement of this matter, and I'm willing to talk with you about the terms that would require us to do that. However, as an initial matter, I want to communicate the following points. The court orders that already have been entered. Now, mind you, he didn't say sealed. He said entered. You got to watch the way lawyers write. You ain't in no trouble if something's entered. That's just your word against mine. You know, the court orders that have already been entered forbid you and your company from violating the anti-fraud provisions of the federal securities laws. First of all, they can't forbid me or nothing because I'm not under the jurisdiction of the United States, so I'm not subject to your laws. The prohibition also includes using the SEC investigation termination letter previously sent to you when you're soliciting your investors. So they're saying you can't send the first letter that we sent you saying you clear to your new client. I said, hell if I can't, you still got the slander up there trying to say that we are fraud. You didn't take it down after you released it.
Yep.
But the second thing is the letter don't belong to you. So I kept sending it to everybody. You know, I'm not gonna do that. Look, in the case, I showed the judge, look, this is the actual envelope and the stamp and the tracking number that letter came from them and it came to me. That means the letter belongs to me. You can't tell me what to do with my property.
Nope. Nope.
If we learn that you are continuing to engage in conduct that violates those laws, we will move to court to have you held in contempt. The court orders require you to provide the SEC with a sworn accounting of all your funds received. This right here tells me that they fishing. Because if you got a court case, you don't need anything from me. You should already have it.
Yep.
But you telling me you need me to give you a sworn accounting of all the funds received in connection with this securities offering. It's none of your business. We a trust. And secondly, you know, if you had something, why you need to get something from me?
That's it.
Come to find out, they never had anybody. There was never any clients that they was representing. This whole thing was to try to take my money. Watch this. As set forth in the temporary restraining order, the accounting shall include, but not be limited to, the name, address of each investor. See? The amount invested, the total amount received from investors, the date each investment was made. I'm not giving you information on my clients because that's why they put their money in the trust. So they don't have to be subject to the IRS. No, you're not getting any.
It's against the law, too.
Exactly. And a listing of all expenditures showing the amount and to whom you paid and the date of payment. That accounting was due 30 days from the entry of the temporary restraining order, which was June 15th. You should prepare the sworn accounting and forward it to us immediately. The court orders also freeze your assets and those of your company. That was when they got me upset because they couldn't freeze my assets because I have all the gold, all this stuff in my own storage, and I'm the only one that has the key, and I'm the only one that knows where it is. How you gonna freeze something you don't have access to? Get out of here! 9/10 of the Lord. So the only thing they was able to take was those 30 million from Chase Bank cash that I had in there, and they took the 30 million, and that's why I went off on Chase because you knew it was a trust account. How you gonna take trust funds and give it and block it for a statutory organization? Accordingly, you should not dissipate any funds in your possession, whether in a bank or held in cash. If we later learn that you have spent or otherwise dissipated funds in violation of the freeze, we will move the court to have you held in contempt. We may be able to reach an arrangement to allow you to meet basic living expenses. Now,
oh my God.
You know, I'm rich, right? They're telling you, nigga, we gonna put you on welfare.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's why they want to keep you. That's, oh my God.
At this point, I started laughing when I was reading this. I said, look, I ain't got time to play with you. I wasn't even paying attention to them. I was recording hit records. At the same time, I had 10 jobs. I was running One World Media, all this stuff. I don't have time to talk to these people. And I didn't even take them seriously with the bank because I knew I had a trust account. But when they took that 30 million, I spent the whole weekend typing that response that I gave. And when I sent that to the court and I gave that to the judge immediately dismissed the case. And then the court filed charges against the SEC. But such an agreement would be subject to you meeting all the terms of the order especially including the sworn accounting, and provide us with the name. Okay, let's go back and reload. Okay. Let me go here. This is comical, almost comical. You know, when I saw this, and I just, it really, first of all, it had me laughing when they told me that you're going to live basic living provisions. You're not going to have anything. Find the court orders require you to repatriate. Now, this is my stuff. Ain't none of it even come from the United States. Repatriate to the United States all assets owned or controlled by you. Are you kidding me? I ain't even a U.S. citizen. I ain't giving you nothing. My stuff comes from India, China, everywhere. Yeah. So I immediately saw this as a collateral attack.
Asset forfeiture.
Exactly. Such assets are subject to the freeze order and should not be dissipated. I am attaching copies of the court orders to this email for your reference. As stated above, I am willing to discuss possible settlement. See, the thing with me, the best way to deal with me is, kindly talk to me. Because you have no idea what I know. I grew up in the library. Meaning that there's nothing that anybody's going to be able to do to me unless my Father in heaven allows that to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm one of his strongest advocates. So then when they sent that to me, the next thing they did was they tried to file a warrant for my arrest because they said that they served me. So when the sheriff came to the door, I said, let me see, because he said, we have a warrant for your arrest. And I handed him the birth certificate. The reason why is I said, you mean you don't have a warrant for this arrest? Yeah, take that. You can have it back. And then I showed him my UCC filing statement, everything, that I was not a U.S. citizen. So I'm not under your jurisdiction. I said, in the meantime, can you show me the temporary restraining order that they was, not the temporary restraining order, the court orders that came in, the summons to go to court. So he shows me this thing. Right? Now, first of all, this came from the Securities and Exchange Commission. Comes now Kevin J. Flatlow before the undersigned officer, duly authorized to administer oaths, and after being duly sworn on the oath, deposes and states that he or she is a citizen of the United States. Granted, I understand that. You under their jurisdiction, you got to do what they say, right? He's over the age of 18 and is a party having no interest in the above because the notary has to sit on the fence between private and public. States that he or she attempted to serve Robert Fowler at the below address, dates, and the attempts to serve him are in the details below. First of all, they went to 7380 Spout Springs Road, Flowery Branch, Georgia, right? And the guy said, no answer. When I went there, the house looked occupied. The curtains were drawn, so we couldn't see inside the large property, but no real information about Mr. Fowler was there. I certify under the penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct, and it's signed by the SEC as well as their lawyer, right? He said the penalty of perjury. So I said to him, to the sheriff, I immediately showed him this, but he said it was that they went and they served me. They said that they served you. I said, really? They served me? Well, if they served me and they went to 7380 Flower Springs Road, this is 7380 Flower Springs Road because I was able to get on the computer in 5 minutes. So I showed them, this is 7380 Flower Springs Road. And what curtains are drawn? It's a UPS store. I said, so you need to be going over there to arrest them for lying under perjury. I mean, for committing perjury under oath. I took pictures of the thing and everything and added it to the case. You know, I was like, back to back, collateral attack, everything. It was a witch hunt. That's the same address, 7380 Sprout Springs Road. I said, there's no curtains drawn. It is not even a house. If you can't see the UPS store on that thing, you know, you follow me? They really, really perjured themselves. And they tried to send the guy to arrest me because I didn't show up in court. I didn't show up in court first of all, I don't have to show up in court because I'm not a citizen at all. I have diplomatic passports and everything. I ain't got to get under anything that you guys are talking about. And then at that point, when I didn't show up, is when they took my money. They took 30 million from my bank accounts. Let's see if I can share. They took 10 from each account. And let's go here. Let's go. Where's those accounts? SEC audit, complete ownership. Okay, last week there it is, the printout of the information. And on each account, they took $10 million. I had 3 accounts, and all of these were under the trustee of the bank. You see, this one they removed. They tried to take 10 off this one and left $6 in there. This one, they took another 10 million, and they took the third one, they took the last 10 million. Now, I didn't know anything. I just went to the ATM and I tried to pull some money out, and I realized that my account was overdrawn. So I called the bank, and the bank sent me in writing that the reason why they took that money and blocked it was because of this SEC case. I said, but don't you understand that we're a trust? You know, you guys are supposed to be high-level bankers. You don't understand that the trust is like the Federal Reserve. You can't touch its money. Its assets and books and nothing, and never part of any seizure or subpoena. Let me just show you that real quick so people can understand. Most of the time when I say things, I'm not just speaking haphazardly. I do understand law because I used to stay in the law library.
Yeah, see, I'm not an attorney myself, but I'll tell you, I've definitely been in the law library quite a bit myself. And
yeah. See, me, I had no choice because my parents had died, and the library is 24 hours. So I was living there. I lived there for about 7 years. See, any type of trust is covered automatically under Article 1, Clause 10 of the United States Constitution.
Yeah.
Because it's a pure trust.
Oh,
every
absolutely.
citizen's power to contract is unlimited, unless, of course, the contract is drafted to commit a crime. You know, all of these type of trusts eliminates filing requirements with the IRS. That means you never have to file a tax return. Not required to pay income taxes on any of its income, regardless of where it comes from, according to the IRS, because I have the whole IRS code too attached. Books and records are not subject to review or subpoena. I included this in my case so the judge can understand that too. So when they told me, give me all your paperwork, I said, the law says I don't have to give you any. As a business trust, it guarantees privileges and immunities not available to statutory entities like LLCs, corporations, limited partnerships, and other statutory organizations. And the reason why is because under Black's Law 3rd edition, it says anything you register to, you transfer ownership to the entity thereof. So that means that if I register my car to you and you give me a car title, that's why you could take it. But if I don't register and I just get a manufacturer's certificate of origin, take my car and buy my own plates, then you can't even pull me over because it's not underneath the jurisdiction of the state. But we gave away our right to travel given to us by God and traded it in for privileges. The reason why the judge enjoyed me because I was able to quote law and everything I was saying. No taxes assessed on property exchanged into the trust. That's why when you put your house into an estate, they can no longer charge you property tax. Privacy and contractual obligations cannot be abridged because it is a federal organization. So when I get people to register, then that means that this conversation is between you and me, Brian, and all alphabet boys got to see their way out. It ain't got nothing to do with them. Get out of here.
You nailed their asses though. I mean, it's wow.
Registration is not for money. Registration is because I've already dealt with these people and I refuse to limit my intellect to that level anymore. The trust owns itself and cannot be abridged. So they can't even hold the trustees accountable for what goes on in the trust. And trust property is immune to seizure. So you can't even seize trust property. You can't come take it. And because of the UCC, all these laws became international under the Uniform Commercial Code.
Well.
So when they did that and they took it, say that again. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
Born in the U.S., weren't you?
Yeah, I was born in the U.S. I was born in New Jersey, and my uncle was a senator, and I grew up with judges. So living in the law library just enhanced where I was already on the road to.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's awesome.
So then, that's when they did that to the account. Then I gave them the response, and this is the response, the last document you sent with me, and I want to share this for the record on this audio recording so people can also know how to deal with these people, no matter who they are. Just remember, the government was established by us for us. It's not the other way around.
Corporation.
Yeah, but because we registered to become corporations, we become part of the corporate structure. But I didn't. I opted out, and I'll show you when that happened. Back before the case, I had already canceled. I had to file all these documents in the government in order for me to be who I am today, King David. This was the UCC one, where I took my birth certificate back from the government. I filed it in the Secretary of State. This one, this is actual and constructive notice that all the above debtors, because the name in capital letters makes you a debtor. And that's because of capitis diminutio maxima. Capitis diminutio maxima was put in the law library as in Roman law to take away people's rights without them knowing. They just gave them capital letters. They don't know. And we still under Roman law. This is the second edition right here. In Roman law, a diminishing or abridgment of personality deals with the loss or curtailment of a man's status of legal attributes and qualifications upon certain changes in his civil condition. It was of three kinds enumerated, that's the way it's written, as follows. Capitis diminutio maxima, that's all capital letters, the highest or most comprehensive loss of status. This occurred when a man's condition was changed from one of freedom to one of bondage when he became a slave. It swept away with it all rights of citizenship and all family rights. So that's why when you get your birth certificate, which is called a certificate of live birth, your certificate of live birth has upper and lowercase letters. That's the one that comes from the hospital, that is signed by the mother and father, and it also has the doctor's signature on it. And it's printed on banknote paper because you have become collateral. You see this? This is called a certificate of live birth. This CUSIP number is the number that you see on the money that they give out. All USC has those numbers on it. In every country now, all their money got them numbers on it. And those numbers represent the collateral for the fiat currency, which is not even money. It's a promise to pay. It's a debt-based instrument. So the doctor signed with your mother and father, and they created something called a trust. That trust now is sent over to the Sesta KV Trust at the U.S. Department of the Treasury. And the U.S. Department of the Treasury uses those birth certificates, Sesta KB Trust. They use those birth certificates so that they can back the treasuries that they give to the Federal Reserve. So they give the treasuries to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve give them Federal Reserve notes. They deposit it in the bank, and voila, you got money. That's why they say the full faith and credit of the United States is backed by the labor of the American people. It's talking about the future labor through taxes. That's why they said all debts, public and private, are the responsibility of the government to pay, because if you end up with a debt, like a traffic ticket, a summons, anything like that, they give the penal code to the feds, and the feds get the money from the Bureau of Taxation to pay off the debt, to run all these prisons and all the rest of it. So as long as they can create the bill, they guarantee to get the money through the treasury window in the bank.
Yeah, look, yeah, I think Yeah, the birth certificate, they use it and they trade it on stock market and everything. That's how.
Yeah, they trade the treasuries, but they really trade, and they also trade the birth certificates as well.
Yep. Yep.
So what I did was I took my birth certificate and I accepted it for value. Under the accepted for value statute, I took the birth certificate. I sent them a copy of it because they don't get the original asset, because I took that with the UCC. And I sent that and I gave them a non-negotiable chargeback order. Just like on a credit card, if they did something fraudulent, you could charge it back. Well, the law says that because I was a child, when I got this birth certificate, I was not of the age of accountability to be subject to this contract. Because you can't, contract law says you can't sign contracts with children. They got to be 18 or older. So I used that law in the document when I sent that back to the U.S. Department of the Treasury. Basically, in effect, I said, I'll take it from here. I own this birth certificate, and all the money you made on this birth certificate, I'm taking that money. Because they made $50 billion. They made $50 billion on the birth certificate, so I took it back.
Yeah. I'm on the phone.
So once I took that back, I gave them a Form 56. A Form 56 makes them the fiduciary so they can still pay bills under my birth certificate. It's a tax Form 56, IRS form. And this form you file and you send it together with that. So now you put Janet Yellen or whoever the Secretary of the Treasury is, you make her the fiduciary under that account still, but she's not the surety is me now. I took it back, but you can still pay bills, and I'm going to send you bonds. You can't create your own treasuries no more, but you can cash the ones I send you. So I sent her my own bond, and I send one to them every year for $500-600 billion, because each birth certificate has unlimited credit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's why they said the full faith and credit, and it says each citizen has unlimited credit. That's because they're issuing treasuries the way I'm issuing these bonds. See, this is the bond that I gave to, I think this was the third one. It went to Timothy Guyton. I sent this bond to him, accepted from value and exempt from levy. That means I'm exempt from taxation. This is regarding birth certificate number. That's the CUSIP number that's on the money, and regarding the actual file number in the Bureau of Vital Statistics. And then I said here, I said, pay to the order of the United States Department of the Treasury, this 600 or 500, 500 billion for the benefit of Robert Isaac of the family Fowler, principal. I'm the principal of that file now. She isn't. You create a file number in their system by sending something registered mail, because the registered mail or the post office is the only government agency left that deals with postal. Because postal services, they lost that in the bankruptcy and they gave it to Sweden. That's why they had to change the name to Postal Service instead of Post Office. But the post office still issues registered mail since the Pony Express. So you go here, exclose the undersigned Robert Isaac of the family Fowler herewith accepts for value the enclosed bond, because I sent this with the birth certificate, certificate of live birth number, and all endorsements front and back, being the only legitimate acceptor of said bond, being the only party to have put any value into said bond, because the bond is on the baby. The mother and father don't speak for the baby. So that means that I'm the only one that has the value of that bond, because I'm the live sentient being that this bond represents under law. And I said, being the only legitimate acceptor, being the contributing beneficiary of the same, being private credit. This is in accordance with the Uniform Commercial Code, the House Joint Resolution 192, 5th of June, 1933, and UCC 1-104 and Public Law 7310. All of them state that we are a live sentient being, exempt from tax, and all of that is under their law. So I said, please deposit this bond to an account bearing the USPO, that's the United States Post Office, registered mail number for future identification purposes and to be used as a set-off against any bills, taxes, or claims and the like against Robert Isaac and the family Fowler, or any bills, taxes, or claims and the like against the straw man, which is the all capital one, debtor to Robert Isaac, the family Fowler, who is the secured party, and see enclosed UCC1 financing statement. That's why I enclose it with the financing statement. Said claims to have been accepted and endorsed by Robert Isaac, the family Fowler. Please deposit this bond to the benefit of the Department of the Treasury in relation to UCC contract trust account bearing the U.S. Postal Service for future identification purposes and to be used as a set-off against any commercial, corporate, public bills, taxes, or money claims and the like. So that's the reason why I was able to get my homes and everything, because it was prepaid. Just like all your stuff is prepaid by your certificate of live birth. You're not even supposed to pay anything because of the gold seizure of 1933.
Wow.
Robert Isaac Fowler Jr., let's see, and the same on behalf of Robert Isaac, the family Fowler, exemption number is your social security number. That's without the dashes. That's your treasury number. With the dashes is your redemption number, where they take money out of your salary. Secured party creditor, UCC1 financing statement and birth certificate having been accepted for value. The reason why I repeat is because the truth is validated by the testimony of 2 to 3 witnesses, like in the Bible. So you say things 2 or 3 times, and then it is accepted for value. You are hereby directed to adjust any commercial, corporate, or public bills, taxes, or money claims and the like on behalf of the straw man to 0. Charge, settle, and enclose any such account and return the interest to the principal. That means whatever you used. Now, I know I didn't spend hardly any of it. Most of it was spent by them. At the below post location, Timothy Geithner, Secretary of the Treasury, shall have 30 days from the date of receipt of this bond, as witnessed by the date of receipt affixed here to the mail receipt, to dishonor this bond by returning the bond to the principal with an explanation of all deficiencies. They have to do that, because if they don't accept it, then they have to tell you why. And that's because of the Uniform Commercial Code, the Multilateral Commission on International Bills of Exchange and Promissory Notes, because you cannot deny a bond. That means banks can't tell you, we can't take your SBLC, we can't take this, they can't tell you that, because they all subject to this, because any country that's signed under the UN Declaration of Human Rights is subject to the provisions they're in. And this is what it is. Let me go back and grab one that'll just show from here. Let's see. This is the United Nations Convention on International Bills of Exchange and International Promissory Note. A promissory note is an application and an approval. That's what it is. We promise to pay. That's credit. And since there is no money to pay with, that's what the law says. Since fiat money is not money under law, I can show you 100 statutes that say that. Since cash is not really money, it's just paper. They said that any application has to be approved so long as it's signed by a live signature. That's why I always tell people to sign in blue ink.
Yep.
Don't cut and paste signatures, because that signature just became money.
Yep.
So that's the reason why I went to them and I said that on the bond. It said Timothy Geithner, Secretary of the Treasury, shall have 30 days as witnesses to dishonor by returning this bond with an explanation of deficiencies. And I knew there was none, because I went by the Multilateral Commission on International Bills of Exchange to create the bond and made sure it met all of the requirements.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
As stipulated and stipulated address below by non-domestic mail, failure to return the bond as stated shall constitute acceptance and honoring of this bond, the associated presentments, claims, transactions, and otherwise accordance by law by Timothy Geithner, the Secretary of the Treasury in the United States Department of Treasury, to all the terms and conditions stipulated herein. The bond shall be ledgered as an asset as best suits the needs of the undersigned principal. This bond expires at the moment Robert Isaac, the family Fowler, expires. At that point, they started protecting me, because they couldn't use the money. They can't use the money unless I'm alive. If I die, you can't get the money. So what did I do with the bond? I checked under it was a website I checked. It was Fidelity. Fidelity.com allows you to look up your birth certificate. And you can see how much money they traded and made on your birth certificate. So I found out that they made over 60B just in the last week on that birth certificate.
Wow.
For everybody. That's how they buying all these stealth bombers and planes and all that. Your country buying military equipment. They're getting that money from y'all, from your birth certificate. I know you looking angry, but this is the thing is, you know, they did it because they knew something you didn't know. Just get to the library, learn it, and just stop it. Shame on you. Don't let it happen anymore. So when I noticed how much they had, I sent the same package to the Depository Trust Clearing Organization. That's the DTCC, because they handle all the transactions for treasuries. That's your Treasury Direct account. And I demanded that they gave me the debit card that they used to give to the Treasury. So they gave me the Treasury access card right here. That's what the U.S. Treasury used to get the money to buy the treasuries. They use the card of each citizen.
Wow.
This is a debit card that comes from the U.S. Department of the Treasury. They take a birth certificate, they open a Treasury Direct account, they make a lot of money with your trading your birth certificate, and then they use that money to buy U.S. treasuries from the Treasury Department using your debit card. But since I became the owner of my birth certificate, they gave me the card. You'll be receiving your access card in the mail in 2 weeks. I always keep everything, the emails and all that. So they be like, I don't know, he made that. No, you can't lie because I got everything on you.
Wow. How long did it take you to get all this done?
I did this. This took about 90 days to finish everything, but I did all of that paperwork in 90 days. Now, once I did this and I got the debit card, I went to the site. Now, the thing is, you can't buy the treasuries for yourself. You got to buy them for another entity. Like the U.S. government buys them for the Federal Reserve. I bought them for U.S. Capital. So I bought 50 billion in treasuries, and I bought them for U.S. Capital Funding 2 Series Trust 1. And then when I issued those 5-year notes, the 50 billion to U.S. Capital went and got a loan in the bank, and then they just let them keep the treasury since they was the treasuries was the collateral, and that's where I bought all the gems from.
Oh, wow.
That's my inheritance from all of the years that they've been robbing me for 50 billion every couple of years.
Wow.
And that started the wealth. From there, I started using the UCC, the non-depletion from the Bible that Solomon uses. And what that does is, like, if you're selling gold and you want to sell me 100 million worth of gold, and I already got 4 trillion in gems, I would hypothecate the gems for 300 million, send an instrument to your bank for 300 million, and it's cash backed. And that 300 million, your bank would cash it out, and they would give $1 million to the person that had the gold would be transferred to me. Now, the other bank, the bank would hold on to the other 2 million. I tell them, don't give me that. I need you to keep that in order of UCC 302, which is making them the holder in due course of the note. Let's see. UCC. I think it's UCC 3-302. I forgot the 3. What this does is that if I don't take any money on the loan, because I didn't, I took only 1/3. They bought the gold, they gave it to me. So now I own the gold. I ain't used no money. I just used the money I already, the gems I had to hypothecate a loan, sent them to SWIFT. And then I didn't take the other 2/3 of the money. I made the bank the holder in due course of the note. You know why? Because as long as they the holder in due course of the note, then even if they default on whatever investments that they're doing, they can't call on me to pay the loan back because they never gave me the loan. They kept 2/3 of it. So what happened was I give them the other 2/3. So if it was 300 million, they take the 200 million. They trade it for a year. At the end of the year, they made probably 1 billion. Out of the 1 billion, they take the 300 million first. They pay that off and release the instrument back to me. So now I don't have no debt. I already got 100 million worth of gold for free. I ain't got no debt. And then the rest of the money that's left, they split it with me. So basically, people pay me to buy their gold.
Wow.
That's why I keep telling people, read the Bible.
Oh, look, I'm a firm believer of the Bible.
Yeah, the Bible is where I get all of this stuff from. Solomon was the wisest king that ever lived. He was my ancestor. So then, after that, I found out through DNA research that I was E1B1A, that I was from the tribe of Judah, and I came across on the slave ships, and we were the actual Israelites that fled from slavery. And then once I found that out, I checked it out to make sure it was true, because we ran across the Sahara Desert and went sub-Saharan according to the history books. We went sub-Saharan and we landed in all different parts of Africa. And then the Africans sold us into slavery because we just came in there and took over. You're like, who is these people encroaching upon our land? So they sold us to the Americans and everybody else. And America confirmed it in Library of Congress when they posted the Negro land map, because that's where we came from, according to them, Negro land. And on the map itself, the ancient map, it showed us that from the slave coast, click this, from the slave coast where we came from, and the Library of Congress said this is a new and accurate map of Negro land. This was all part of the slave coast, the slave studies that I did. And then we came from, the Gold Coast was here, the slave coast was here, and it's the kingdom of Benjamin. This was where the kingdom of Judah was. That was the ruling class of the house of Judah. And that was when I found out that even Trump knew about this, but Trump is the best.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He is the best because he don't care who you are. Everybody's treated the same. That's why I love that man.
Yep, Trump is badass. Yeah, it's gonna be good. We're gonna do a lot of good with him.
He came out with 1242 in 2018, commemorating the 400 years of slavery was over that was prophesied in Genesis. This is House Resolution 1242, signed by President Trump. Inside this resolution, it says that we were the Hebrews of the Bible.
Shit.
That we were the children of Israel, because you had the children of Israel, and then you have the nation of Israel.
Yep.
And that was the reason why when they gave them, with the Balfour Declaration in 1917, when they gave the Israelis the land, they told them they could not use the name Israelite. They had to use the name Israeli, and the name Israeli means a native or inhabitant of modern Israel. The reason why is because the Israelites are a people. They couldn't use the word Israelite because the Israelites are the children of Jacob, a descendant of Jacob, especially a member of the Hebrew people who inhabited the ancient kingdom of Israel, one of the group considered by his members and by others as God's chosen people, because there was originally 14 tribes. There weren't 12 tribes of Israel. When I found that out, I not only changed my name to King David, but I recorded in the court and got diplomatic immunity and diplomatic passage as a child of God, a Native American diplomat, an international divine law sovereign when on the land. I'm an international divine law sovereign with a true and natural likeness produced herein above by photo and fingerprint, having given priority notice. What was the priority notice? The priority notice was the UCC1 and everything. Relating to the character and standing of the undersigned as recorded in the Gwinnett County Government Center. Recorded miscellaneous book number 0017. That was the name change. One living, breathing man known as His Royal Highness David II, affiant in care of non-domestic, because I took my house and I put it in the trust, so now it's not a domestic address anymore. It's a private, it's like Adam having a section of the Garden of Eden belonging to him. His Royal Highness having been a sound mind and having achieved the age of 21 years, that I made sure I put that in here because now I can speak on my own recognizances. Even though for us it's 13 with Bat Mitzvah, but 21 years covers the whole world. 21 you've grown. Whose advocate is Yeshua the Messiah, reserving all unalienable rights, being one who is no bar attorney. Because if you got an attorney, that means you're incompetent under Black's law. So you should never get an attorney if you don't need one. Because you'll never get a trial where you're going to win if everything is stacked against you. Because all three of them are getting paid by the state, the judge, the prosecutor, and the attorney. How are you going to get a fair trial? You'd be better off working on your own case. And the reason why I say that is because that attorney has 15 different cases he got to work on at one time. He will never be the person that only's got to concentrate on his own case. All he got to do is go put the time in the law library. And if you're looking for something specific, you can always beat him. Always, because all you got to do is go to the librarian and tell her what the case is about. She'll pull every law up on that case. And it may take, like right now, they got till March or something on the P. Diddy case. It's, you know, if he was doing what but he's guilty as anyway, so he needs to go to jail. But the point was, if he was innocent, he could actually spend that 6 months on his case and there would be no match for him when he got to court. It says here, His Royal Highness David, in good faith, with no intention of delay, you know, in full intent in preserving and promoting the public confidence in the integrity and impartiality of the judiciary. And that's what I do, because if they don't, then they're going to be recused. I'm going to recuse the judge just because he's impartial. Following statements and facts are truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, being delivered with clean hands at arm's length pursuant to federal rules of civil procedure 2. So help me Yahweh. I am the family member and descendant of the house of David. Hereby affirm my identity as a living man, a walking, breathing, sentient being made after the image and likeness of Elohim, of God. What do you mean? Genesis. After he said male and female created he them. After his own image and his likeness. He says, His Royal Highness David also affirmed by my identity known as HRH David, unincorporated UCC contract trust number, and also my competent ability to safely operate motorized conveyance upon the highways. Let it be known I'm not engaged in trade, commerce, hire, because you know you don't need a driver's license. Nobody.
Yeah. Yep.
Nobody needs a driver's license. The only time you need a driver's license is if you're using your vehicle to transport commercial goods, or you driving a taxi. Regular people never need a license because God gave us an unalienable right to travel. And no one will ever argue that in court. Every time I went to court for that in America, they dismissed the case. Because the law already says that. And that's why they try to keep people ignorant, because if they can keep you ignorant, then you're going to continue to fall underneath that. It says, I declare my universal right of free, unrestricted movement and travel pursuant to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the United Nations. So this applies everywhere in the world. You see? Without force or threat or duress and or deception to engage or be involved in any undisclosed contractual obligation in the Admiralty. I accept all public oaths of office and solemnly affirm my identity, and I am bonded for public liability by the full faith and credit of the United States to faithfully execute a motorized conveyance, not to be confused with a motor vehicle. It's called a conveyance because a conveyance carries you. A motor vehicle, they trick you with the word because that's used for commercial travel. You know, pursuant to 28 USC 1746 in the United Nations Multilateral Road Traffic Convention, the foregoing affidavit signed without the United States in the presence of the universal sovereign, the judge over all the earth, whose name is Elohim, the Almighty God. And the actual legal reference for that is Genesis 18:25. The reason why I call it the legal reference, because all law comes from the Bible.
Yep.
First Amendment U.S. Constitution on religious expression and religion and expression. Free people have a right to travel on the roads which are provided by their servants for that purpose, using ordinary transportation of the day. Licensing cannot be required of free people because taking on the restrictions of a license, right? Taking on restrictions of a license is taking away their right. And at the page 2 here, we don't have to read the whole page, but I don't like ending the sentence in the middle. Let's see. That was the name change. Hold on. I filed that in the court. They tried to tell me, how you going to get 2 passports? I said, give me 3. They gave me 3 U.S. passports. That's the acceptance of the deed, because no contract is accepted unless you accept it. So let's go back real quick to the case where it was dismissed. Let me show you that first in case some of you guys get tired of watching this video. The case was in fact dismissed. Let's see, I'll open up the dismissals. Some of these, there you go. Oh, no, that's not it. That's the one where they go down to here. The devil is a liar. He's a big liar. That's one thing I can tell you about is my God is an awesome God. He's always been there for me. Nobody has ever survived the SEC case. John Gotti, all of them, because they don't usually come to you unless they know they can win. But they didn't know who they was playing with. They was playing with a man of God. You don't do that. Yes. You see this? This right here, I'm putting this on the screen for all you people out there in legal land, that this case against the SEC, same case number, was dismissed. The judgment was dismissed, and if you need to look it up, you can go on Pacer. Everybody has a Pacer account. It's in or you can go directly to the court's link down here. All of this is available to you for you to look at. Just look up the case number. You will see that the case has been dismissed against me and this corporate fiction that I have no idea where they get that from. But now we're going to the case response, so you can see how I took them on how I beat them in the case. And the reason why I even fought, because we never fight. God says, don't argue with a fool lest a wise man come by and not be able to tell the difference. I don't argue. I usually just respond. And I respond in a gentlemanly way. That's the way I did when I said, gentlemen, if you have any kind of issues, let's resolve them, like gentlemen. Don't come to me with all of this belligerent talk. I don't have any, and then collateral attack. Don't do that. I didn't disrespect you, so don't disrespect me. If you disrespect me, then I'm going to show you who I am. Because I don't do these things to people. I treat everyone everywhere with the utmost honor, because those are children of God. And God's children are special to me, all of them. But when they start acting contrary to that, then I'm able to recognize them as children of the devil. And I don't have to respect the devil's children, because God hates them too. So I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. Now, this right here was the case response. The first thing I did was I used the Title IV flag. The Title IV flag basically says that I am still under civil jurisdiction and not government jurisdiction. I'm responding to you by special negative environment, and I'm responding to you in my own jurisdiction. This is like most people don't know that the governor is the highest office in the land. They think the president is. The president is not the highest office in the land. The governor is, because the governor is the one that all of them together is the one that supports the presidency from the people of the states. The states are private. It says, by the law of the flag, notice is under the American flag of peace of the de jure United States of America, because it's free United States. So I responded with the case by special appearance, Robert Fowler, unincorporated, that's my 98 number, and the UCC filing number. I made sure I put copies of that in there so that they will understand that I am not in your jurisdiction, but I'm being a gentleman. So I can come to this thing and try to help you resolve your issue. Beneficial owner and first lien holder of the all straw man capital. So even though you have that case number and it has all capital letters, technically you're not even supposed to be handling my property. I'm the owner of that. Mandatory judicial notice of mistake, that's what this is about, by affidavit of specific negative affairment, affidavit of truth for the IRS certificate of foreign status, non-resident alien, W-8 bin, notice concerning fiduciary relationship, meaning that you're doing all of this and I'm the only one that can write a check for you. So that means even if you tried to put a bond or arrest this person, you ain't getting no money from the Fed. Because I'm the only one. And because I'm the owner of the UCC and it says bailee, bailor, I'm the only one that could place or release a bail on the person. So even if you arrested me by law, you got to let me go by my order. Form 56, power of attorney, and declaration of representative form 2848. Then I said, now comes Robert Fowler, unincorporated, the authorized representative of the estate and corporate fiction / transmitting utility or trust, which is the alleged defendant in error. Now, me, the surety, I'm coming to defend the all capital letters, Robert Fowler, because it ain't nothing but a birth certificate. That's why when I gave the police the birth certificate, when they came for the warrant, they had to just take it and leave. They didn't touch my body. And not appearing generally and not submitting to the court's jurisdiction without threat, force, and duress, who hereby gives proper notice of mistake pursuant to OCGA 16-3-5. That means if I give you a notice of a mistake to help you to avert fraud in your case, then you have to accept it if the mistake is real. And the mistake was definitely real. To avert possible fraud or any fraudulent facts by all unknowing parties, Robert Fowler Incorporated, a non-corporate, I'm letting you know right now, you ain't even supposed to have me in this court because I'm non-corporate, natural-born, living, breathing human who is on the soil of America and beyond the sea, sui juris. Beyond the sea means I'm not under admiralty jurisdiction. The way they tricked the parents to give the keys to the kingdom from the children to the government is because it says that the word birth used to be used like if I ship a VCR from Japan, right? Soon as that VCR gets to America, America issues it a certificate of birth. It's a certificate of birth. Now they call it a bill of lading. And that means that that product now has been birthed on the land where it was received. So they applied that same principle because it was coming from the water to the children that come from the womb of the mother. So that child came from the womb, it landed on the land, we're going to issue it a certificate of birth. Now it becomes our chattel property. It becomes our thing. That's how they use the law to get around stuff. So I said, we're cleaning out nature. I said, I'm a living, breathing human who is on the soil of America. Humans who can't do that to unless they volunteer. Your mother and father volunteered you with a third-party witness, which was the doctor, and the three of them created the trust. Not knowingly, they didn't know. So I didn't blame my parents for that. He said, Rectus Centuria hereby notices this court of fatal defects and errors that Robert Fowler estate doing business as Robert Fowler is not the same as Robert Fowler Unincorporated, which is the proper spelling for the human man, the real party in interest. All acts contrary to this notice will be intentional and willful acts of fraud and shall be reported to the proper authority. Exhibit 1, IRS Form W-8 bin. That proves I'm foreign. Exhibit B, UCC contract number. That proves that I own everything. Everything that I said, I made sure I put the proof in there. IRS Form SS4. That's the form that proves that I'm not a U.S. citizen, that I got a 98 number. Exhibit D, notice of affidavit of specific negative affairment, which was signed by the governor of the state of Georgia. So you're going to call your own governor a liar? State of Maryland lien. That right there confirms that I'm the surety even in admiralty jurisdiction because Maryland is the seat of admiralty jurisdiction for the world in the UN contract. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So I don't deal with that. Then the next thing I gave them Other supporting documents confirming status were added to this file as well for your review and confirmation. The affiant, you notice I'm not calling myself a defendant, because I'm not a defendant. There's nothing for me to defend. The affiant has never had the opportunity to see the actual complaints from the 3 clients that were not named in the case that were allegedly misrepresented. We have thousands of clients and none have filed an action with us directly for remedy. If it were so, we would have resolved the issue directly with them. However, this information was not disclosed to us by the plaintiff. That's 100% true because the case is in there. They kept saying, we got these defendants that said you did well. I said, well, name them so we could provide remedy. And we did the offer remedy according to law. You got to try to settle it first. According to the Bible, Jesus said, settle your matters quickly while you go along the way. I tried to settle, but they refused to give me who these people were. And even in the case, they never brought them up. The basis of the accusations I've read by the plaintiff were misleading and not accurate. We are not a U.S. corporation any longer. And when we were, it was part of a complex trust structure outside the jurisdiction of the United States. We are still willing to work with the plaintiff upon production of the alleged injured parties so that we may effectuate payment for any and all fees owing to them, if any, but without any actual names in the complaint, this is impossible to resolve with them. As for the location of U.S. Capital Funding 2, Series Trust 1, where I am a trustee of that estate, does not operate or have any location at 3305 Bagley Passage. That was my home in Duluth, Georgia. The address here in the States is for correspondence only, and that is 3651 Peachtree Parkway, and that's the address that's on the Secretary of State's registration. Suwanee, Georgia, and it is a mailbox only. All addresses for U.S. Capital Funding are offshore, and the addresses are posted publicly on the website. Nowhere is the address 3305 Bagley Passage used for that entity. We will try to resolve any grievances with the plaintiffs directly. And that's when I said to the judge, I gave him a color of law violation, denial of rights under the color of law. That's 18 U.S.C. 242, Universal Declaration of Human Rights per the United Nations. I said, I am an unincorporated living man of mind, heart, and soul, certifying that the foregoing information stated here is true and correct, pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1746, subsection 1, without the United States. And I signed my autograph. Your federal law, that's why we got to read the law, read court cases like the Bible. You can't just read through a whole passage and think you understand what Paul is talking about. You got to read it line by line, precept upon precept, and go back and check the Old Testament, the New Testament, make sure everything lines up, because Samuel said, God is not a man that he should lie. So that means God ain't never changed his mind. So if something is questioning your mind, that means you don't understand something. Your federal law provides that it is a crime to violate the rights under color of law. You can be arrested. Now, this is to the judge. You can be arrested for this crime, and you can also be held personally liable for civil damages. Attempting to cause a person to do something by telling that person that such an action is required by law when it is not required by law may be a felony. And if you are under oath, like a police officer or a lawyer, it could be Article 3 felony treason. Article 3 felony treason is a law that's on the books that says you will be hung by the neck until you are dead, since the 1800s. Now, you want to get hung over all of this nonsense you trying to take my money? Is it worth your life? I said, the living man that you are attempting to communicate and or contract with, not to be confused with a sovereign citizen, a free man, or a corporate fiction, is a private and international human being, natural person of a foreign state in relation to the United States Corporation and of the states. Title 28 USC 1603 B and is immune from the jurisdiction of the courts of the United States and of the states, Title 28, 1604, just as it is recognized under Public Law 94, 583, 90, Statute 2892, and the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations of April 18, 1961. Because I already have the court record showing that I'm a diplomat. I ain't even supposed to be in this place. And the Hague Convention of October 5th, 1961, effectively invoking the protections of international law as against the war powers administered by the United States. In addition, 18 USC 242 provides whoever under any color of law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom willfully subjects any other person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession. This is about your president. He is committing criminal activity against you guys, because this is a UN law, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, and or immunities secured and protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. So if you try to deny the rights, they can come. That's what they did with Mandela. They tried to say he did it. They're going to come get the president of Eritrea too if he don't start treating his people right. All I got to do is be on the case. If I'm on the case and I submit that case to the UN, believe me, or should I just send it to him as a gentleman and let him know the laws he's violating, and please do this for your people. You know, plead with him. So this way, you know, because I always like to go to the person first and try to resolve the issue, because I don't want trouble for anybody. Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 13, subsection 1 says, everyone has the right to freedom of movement and residence within the borders of each state. That means he can't deny you people from traveling outside of Eritrea going in. This is UN law. Everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his country. That means that you don't need a passport. They use that for tracking, and they can do that because that's under their corporate bylaws, and you being a citizen, you under corporate law. But if you was a non-citizen, that's why the Pope don't have a passport. He's not a citizen. Said human being reserves all rights at all times and in all places and waives none at any time, anywhere. You may be in violation of federal and international law, and pursuing with your demand may lead to your arrest and or civil damages. Why do I need to put all of this in before he starts reading this case? Is because he's been noticed. This is actual and constructive notice. The judge understands all of this. But, you know, police officers, they don't understand this type of stuff. Even the lawyers, most of them don't understand this. Also understand that the law provides that you can be held personally responsible and liable. You'll learn that in the recuse laws, where it says a judge has to recuse himself. They said that he could be held personally liable, as well as your company or companies and or agencies. Then you ask them the question, are you authorized to commit your superiors to liability? If they say yes, that means I can lock up his whole clan, everybody. Unless then they'll turn against him, saying that he lied, he's not authorized, and then they got to produce the documents. You are lawfully advised to cease and desist with your unlawful demand. Please seek personal legal counsel or contact your supervisor immediately if you do not understand the law and this notice. Then I went to the affidavit of specific negative environment that I gave to the, when I became a sovereign, I gave that to the Secretary of State, letting them know, and the governor in Georgia, that I'm no longer a citizen, that I'm operating in my capacity as a child of Adam, and I can move around as I please. I'm going to be living here. Thank you very much. Enjoy. At the same time, they have to. No, they gave me the passport because in my UCC I took it. The passport does not denote that you're a citizen. It's just those are travel documents. And I took the travel documents because when I went to China, it's kind of hard to explain to this type of stuff to them, even though they subject to it because they signed the UN declaration, but the language barrier. At the time, I didn't speak that. So I went back to the passport office and I told them I wanted 3 passports. I had one already for Robert Fowler. I wanted the Royal House of David, King David and Joseph David Jeremiah. So I got all 3 passports now.
Really?
I got 3 U.S. passports.
Oh, but already.
They all valid.
Really?
You know how I got it? I went to court And I told him my father has the name Elohim, El Shaddai, Yeshua, Yahweh, all of those names. I said, in fact, my father has 99 names, and I'm made after the image and likeness of my father, and I'm only asking you for 3, and you violated my constitutional right that I could practice my religion. And I said, get the lawyer out here. The lawyer came out. He said, give this man whatever he wants, because he looked me up in the computer, and I was already sovereign. They'd already been noticed. When I go and renew my passports, watch, I'm gonna get 3 of me at the end of this.
Wow.
Yeah, America, but it's not just America now. You got freedom of religious expression everywhere in the world. If they sign the UN Charter, in every country, almost all of the countries are already signed to it. Then you sign your name in all lowercase letters, and you put unincorporated at the end of it, and you seal with your fingerprint. That let them know that privacy on the private side, I'm totally in control. Under capitis diminutio maxima, then they have capitis diminutio media, where you have the uppercase R and the rest is lowercase, where you lose half your status. All lowercase, you keep all your status.
Well, yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that. That's even applies in Australia, I believe.
Yeah, you do that and you keep all your status. Now, this is a statement of identity. This right here is a certified statement that I am not Robert Isaac Fowler, that I am Robert Isaac of the family Fowler. We, the undersigned, being of the age of consent, stable of mind, and competent to testify. You have to put competent to testify. Otherwise, they're going to try to assign you an attorney. And you, like I said, you can't get a fair trial if the attorney getting paid by the same people, the judges and the prosecutor. They're all getting paid by the government. So how are you going to get a fair trial? You'll never get a fair trial. You notice your attorney always tell you, plea bargain, plea bargain. Just say you're guilty, we'll give you this. No, I ain't guilty. I ain't gonna lie on myself. You think I'm a perjure against myself? What am I guilty of? Having firsthand knowledge of the living being whose identity we seek to establish, do by our own free will and act, out of the mouths of 2 or more, establish the facts as set forth herein to wit. That's the law. It says out of the mouths of 2 or more. It says the truth is validated by the testimony of 2 to 3 witnesses. So here's the 3 witnesses down here. I'm one, and these 2 witnesses stating that I am not Robert Isaac Fowler, but I am Robert Isaac of the family Fowler. So that means I'm confirming that I'm not in your jurisdiction. We know the living being in question to be Robert Isaac of the family Fowler, or simply Robert Isaac Fowler, a living man and not a legal fiction, not an all capital letters fiction. You know, I'm not a fictitious person with all capital letters. I'm not a corporation who came onto this world on the 1961-6-17. We know Robert Isaac Fowler to be an honorable man and to have seen no evidence which challenges his identity, and believe that none exists. We believe the estate trust style as Robert Isaac Fowler, all capitals, to represent the interests of Robert Isaac Fowler, which are held in his trust. We have seen no evidence which disputes our belief, and believe that none exists. We did witness the living being known as Robert Isaac Fowler place their thumbprint here. We have seen no evidence to dispute that said thumbprint represents the physical being known to us as Robert Isaac Fowler, and believe that none exists. We, the undersigns, do hereby certify the foregoing to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Establish identity first. The next thing you do is you confirm identity by the IRS, certificate of foreign status, that I'm an individual. I'm not a corporation. I'm not a trust or anything. I'm an individual. Address is there. It's non-domestic, care of 3305, because I put the thing in the trust. It's no longer part of the United States. That's why you don't pay tax, property taxes. Sign that. Then here is the contract trust number, proving that I'm the owner of the birth certificate and the social security card and all of that stuff. And I purchased it for $100 billion, and for all rights, interest, title, and all hospital, city, county, state, federal, everything that had that name, I own it now, including the U.S. passport. Most people don't do that. I put the social security numbers, everything there, so I can still use it if I want, but they don't get no money.
Wow.
All property is accepted for value and exempt from levy. Adjustment of this filing is from House Joint Resolution 192, June 5th, 1933. Look up the law, Public Law 7310, Title 31 USC 3123, 31 USC 5103, UCC 10-104, and by treaty, in this case, the United Nations Convention on International Bills of Exchange and International Promissory Notes, and Uniform Commercial Code 1-103, 1-104. And the debtor, the all capital letters person, is a transmitting utility. The secured party accepts the debtor's signature in accord with UCC 3-401 and 1-201, meaning that since he's not a live person, he doesn't have to sign. I ain't even signing on his behalf. And the alternative designation is bailee, bail-or. That means you cannot arrest me. If you do, you have to let me go because you're committing international crimes. Then I gave them the testimony as 2 to 3 witnesses. This was in the state of Kentucky. That's one governor. I sent the same thing to the Superior Court, to the Judge Richard Alexander's judge. No, it was a different judge. Richard Alexander was Kirk. But I also did this in Georgia. So both states got the same thing. Now, if you try to pull anything down, you're going against 2 states, independent states. This right here is UCC 3, because no contract is real unless the person accepts it. That's what I was trying to show you the other day. He said, well, here's the contract. I said, where's my signature? Because if you don't sign it, the contract is null and void. A contract is the meeting of the minds. 2 people have to sign. You can't just give somebody a contract and tell them that that's it without your signature. So the signature of the all straw man was signed pursuant to the fact that he's not a human being, 1-201. But this right here is him, the straw man, agreeing that I am now the new surety. This right here is what I got from the U.S. Department of the Treasury. It's a 98 number saying that he is foreign to the government of the United States and he therefore does not have to pay any taxes. This is all documents that I filed. This is the original birth certificate stating that during the time that it was signed, here's the actual the chargeback order. I gave them a better copy, but on the site, they only did black and white. And I understand why they did that, because red is not copyable. They probably didn't want more people to know how to do this. This right here is the same document again. And then I gave them the acknowledgement of the deed. This is the acknowledgement that I now own the deed, the birth certificate. That's how you do a title transfer, transfer of deed, when I'm the owner of the deed. You see? Before Abraham was, I am. The divine spirit having a human experience, each atom and cell of this physical vessel, I'm talking about me, I inhabit to travel across this land is fused with the spark of the creator. I am one with the light, one with the creator, the Alpha and Omega, without beginning nor end, without time. Who's going to dispute that? That's what the Bible said. He said, I'm after his image, after his own likeness, so I'm the Alpha and Omega too. That's why he said in Psalms 82:6, he said, I said, ye are gods, and you are all the sons of the Most High. This third dimensional vessel called man, the original domicile of the divine spirit, is known on this world. And in this dimension, as Robert Isaac of the family Fowler, a living man, freeborn, peaceful inhabitant, heir to the divine state, settler and living beneficiary to the divine trust, freeholder in fee simple absolute. The divine state is the earth. God gave Adam everything. Is not Adam your father? Isn't he your grandfather? So that means you own everything. You too, Brian.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I believe 100%.
So who in the world can deny you of anything when you own it all already? By you paying for things, there's nothing wrong with paying because I want to give you a gratuity. But don't get confused that I'm not the owner. I know who I am. I am because he is. I have been lost at sea in the sea of illusion. My estate placed in trust. This is talking about the birth certificate. I have awakened to the truth so long hidden from man, and now I redeem my estate. I hereby acknowledge and accept the deed and my right as lawful, proper owner of the estate, which with exclusive right of use of all land, tenements, and hereditaments thereof, to have and to hold in fee simple forever. This freehold and fee simple has been held under an assumed lease for years. Said fee has been held in abeyance and expectation, remembrance, and contemplation in law, there being no person in S in whom it can vest and abide, because it can't, because a corporate is not a live person. Though the law has considered it as always potentially existing and ready to vest whenever a proper owner appears. Well, that's why I said I appeared, and I'll take it from here. Thank you very much for taking care of my estate. It is hereby established in fact that Robert Isaac of the family Fowler is the proper owner of the estate in whom it can vest and abide, to have and to hold in fee simple forever. It has been decreed and covenanted that the grantor is lawfully seized of said estate in fee simple, and grantee is granted good right and lawful authority, an exclusive right of use of the estate, and said estate is free of all encumbrances. That means taxes, liens, restrictions, easements, limitations, and zoning ordinances of the record. And that's the reason why when you go to court, you don't file for a motion to dismiss. I filed an order to dismiss because I'm the owner. And they dismissed it. The judge dismissed it immediately. This is ecclesiastic deed poll. You know, this right here is a Robert Isaac of the family Fowler, the nativity date. It's not a B-E-R-T-H or B-I-R-T-H date. It's not a birth date. It's a nativity date. That's why they call the Messiah and his birth the nativity. You know what I'm saying? Because when you start using their terms, you're subject to their law. Ecclesiastes deeds poll, per curiam divina, that's divine. Before Abraham was, I am, the divine spirit having a human experience. Each atom and cell of this physical vessel I inhabit across this land is infused with the spark of the creator. I am one with the light, one with the creator, the alpha and omega, without beginning nor end, without time. This third dimensional vessel called man, the original domicile of the divine spirit, is known on this world and in its dimension as Robert Isaac of the house of Fowler, a freeborn inhabitant, heir to the divine estate, living beneficiary to the divine trust, freeholder in fee simple and absolute. The reason why I made sure all of this was recorded in the court, because now this is part of the court record. And remember, actual and constructive notice, any notice that you give somebody that goes unrebutted for more than 90 days stands as fact. So everything I'm saying here is a fact. It is a fact. We, the divine spirit expressed in living flesh, infuse this irrevocable deed and contract with divine life through our blood, perfecting an unbreakable seal on this agreement, bearing the full power and authority of the divine creator and binding on all inferior persons and practitioners of the inferior Roman law, Sharia law, and or Talmudic law from the beginning without time. I mean, I'm not under any of their laws. I'm under divine law. And the only way I can deal with all my people is make them sign the smart plan so they can be under God's law. You see, that's the reason why. The base lead of our word contains the purest gold for the transmission of the base man or woman into pure spirit. For the beginning, there was the word, and the word was God. Divine notice of protest. We, the divine spirit, living beneficiary, expressed in trust in living flesh, having returned from being lost in the sea of illusion, born of a self-imposed state of amnesia and extreme programming to reestablish our life status and reborn our estate, establishes the evidence in fact of our competence, rebutting the assumption with fact. We, the divine spirit, you notice I say we. Father, Son, Holy Spirit is inside of me because God said in his form as Jesus, I am in the Father's in me, and I am in you. That means that we all are one with the Spirit. That's what he said in the book of John. Object and issue divine notice of protest to the breach of trust and the usurpation of our inheritance under the error of assumptions of the pledge of our private property. We have never willingly, knowingly, and with full disclosure pledged our inheritance to any person or entity. We didn't do that. The parents did it to us unknowingly. We, the divine spirit, object to and issue divine notice of protest and, to the conversion of the birth certificate to a promissory note and or other negotiable instrument without full disclosure nor consent. We, the divine spirit, object to and issue divine notice of protest to all derivatives of the birth registration. That's everything. ID cards, driver's license, all that. We protest against that. Because how are you going to do all of this under my name and I don't give you permission? The estate and trust and USCPB trust as fruit of the poison tree. We, the divine spirit, object and issue divine notice of protest to the malicious and unconscionable actions of the executors and administrators of the estate, to wit, knowingly and willingly claiming the child as chattel of the estate, creation of the slave bond contract and the slave, we talking about the birth certificate, assuming us to be under the codes and statutes of the United Kingdom, because that's where all the codes come from, which came from the Bible. We, the divine spirit, object to and issue divine notice of protest to the intentionally deceitful legal language and meaning of our earthly parents' marriage certificate and the birth registration, whereby our early parents were tricked into signing us away into slavery to the state without full disclosure nor consent. That's why they said don't let the slaves read, because we had already known this back in Israel years and years ago. We, the divine spirit, object to and issue divine notice of protest to the creation of the slave bond by placing the ink impression of the child's footprint on the birth certificate, converting said certificate into a slave bond, and selling the same to the Federal Reserve for the conveyance into the second USCPB trust. It's like, look, I know what you did. I know everything you did. And if you don't want this information to go public, you need to back off me and leave my assets alone. We, the divine spirit, object to and issue divine notice of protest to the issue and of monetization of the maritime lien for the salvage for the lost property for the bank's failure to seize the slave child upon the maturity of the slave bond. This is the same thing they do when they foreclose on a house. Because they do it because they never filed the 1099-A when they gave you the loan. They'd have been paid by the state. So they go back and get the property. Then you in turn around and file a 1099-A, take the property back and put it into an estate, and they can't do nothing. We, the divine spirit, object to and issue divine notice of protest to the issue and monetization of the baptismal certificate and creation of the third USCPB trust, representing the enslavement of our soul under the assumptions that our earthly parents gifted, granted, and or conveyed our soul to the state. That's why you don't get a baptismal certificate from a state-sponsored church. Any church that registers with the state and they file a 501c3 or a 508, if they file those, then they are not churches of God. Churches of God don't have any kind of allegiance to the state. So if they give you a birth certificate, you check that church and it has a 501c3, That means that you signed yourself over to the state, even through the church. We, the divine spirit, object to and issue divine to the assumption that we are enemies of the estate and enemies of the crown, operating under the codes and statutes of the United Kingdom. We, the divine spirit, object to and issue divine notice of protest to the creation of the multidimensional corporate veils of protection which have been placed over the estate to separate the living beneficiary from the annuities or the monies that you're supposed to get. That's why they do that, to give you the capital letters. They take the one with your footprint on it and it's signed with real signatures, then they give you a regular one with capital letters. Because they just separated the live person from the money. They took the money and gave you the birth certificate. All that money belongs to you that they traded. We, the divine spirit, object to and issue divine notice of protest to the 3 USCPB trusts, which represent the triple crown of enslavement, and 3 claims against our property, our body, and our soul by the Roman cult for the purpose of enslaving the people in the denial of all our rights to the divine inheritance, our right to freedom from all limitations, and our rights and powers as divine creators. We, the divine spirit, object to and issue divine notice of protest to the bar associations as managers of the triple crown of enslavement of the Roman cult, representing the reconstituted Gala, responsible for the reaping of souls under the code and statutes of the United Kingdom. So they're not only taking your soul through criminal activity, they're not taking your soul through that. What they're doing is they're taking your soul through the very paperwork that you live on. So when you go before God and you say to God, when have I done this to you? What have I done? Haven't I kept the law? He says, yes, but you didn't keep my law. My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. If you don't know, you're supposed to get to know. That's why he told us that we have to study the scriptures. You know, we, the divine spirit, object and issue divine notice to protest the bar associations. I did that. And or agents for the use of inferior Roman law, Sharia law, Talmudic law, maritime law, and other canon law against well, what I'm going to do, and the reason why I'm going through this case, basically the case was dismissed, and I will make the case available to you for download by a link at the bottom of this YouTube video. And the reason why I want to do this is because it's important that everybody knows and understand what their human rights are. Before your constitutional rights, you had human rights. And your human rights were given to you by the Creator. And nobody can take those rights from you. They don't control those rights. Jesus paid for that with his life. You know, so you can't go back and trample underfoot God while you falling subject to Satan and all of his devices, just because you don't want to take the time to read. When I tell you the importance of reading the scriptures, it's because the scriptures themselves, they come from God. God gave us the law to govern ourselves. We turned around and traded God's law for corporate statutes from the very entities that we created to hold us together. We created the laws so that we can provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, ensure domestic tranquility, so basically so everybody could get along. But then the animal, which is the law, outgrew us and took over. It's almost like AI. We make an AI, these artificial intelligence robots and all of that, and now we're worried that they're going to take over because they know more. No, you're supposed to know more. I don't care what computer exists in the world. They will never know more than just one human brain if we use it and absorb all the information that's been given to us. They will never know more. And the only reason why we are destroyed, like God said, is for the lack of knowledge. We don't want to take the time to learn. The acknowledgement of deed, I'm going to go through these briefly now because I don't want this video to be 6 hours. This is the entitlement order and the termination of lease, the demand for delinquent rent. This goes to the organizations of the corporate that tried to go and take my assets. You're fired, like Trump says. Get out of here. You're fired. I gave you the authority to govern us, and now you're going after an innocent person. And then I accept your oaths of office and everything, but I want my demand for delinquent rent, the administration of the state. I'm taking it over because you don't know what you're doing. You're over here, and I'm not the first one that this happened to. After so many people that I've met that went through this unjust, behavior of this fiction, this state that is supposed to be working for us, after all of the behavior of all these unjust statutory entities against good people. And they get away with it because the people don't know their rights. Since they want to use the law, use the law. Spend all the time you want in the law library. You can resolve any case, and the key is that you have to make sure that you are innocent. I even gave them the number how they could charge off with the routing numbers and everything through the Fed to pay any debts that they feel like that they've incurred dealing with this case. This right here is the maritime lien. This is in Maryland. The maritime lien, they recorded it sideways because it was 8.5 by 14, which is the legal size. But it's on the state of Maryland courthouse's letterhead, where I'm not only sovereign on the land anywhere the land exists, but I'm sovereign on the water as well. So that means that no matter where I am, I'm a direct image and likeness of the holy God that he gave us when he said that you will be the Khalifa. He told us that we're going to be the rulers of the earth. That means everything belongs to us as people and then to government, because we gave them that right. This is also confirmed by Nathan Deal and Margaret Robertson. Those are the governor of the state of Georgia. Every law, I went through them, and I also went through the judge at the courthouse so that they can confirm that this is legitimate. This is not any cockamamie wannabe they call sovereign citizen. No, I know my rights. I know my privileges, and I also know the privileges that I have given to you and to everybody else as a state entity. We give them things to you because we want you to be honorable with them and take care of people. That's your job, to provide resources for the people that you serve. You're supposed to protect and serve all government agencies everywhere, without exception of whoever you are. Just remember that job is a privilege. It is not a right. And I'm going down this. This was the case, the violation fee schedule, and this was previously signed by the governor. That's a fee schedule after you knew that I was already sovereign, I was a lawful person. Anybody underneath your jurisdiction that does these things, by your signature, you agree to pay this. And then I filed here an order to dismiss for violation of the Clean Hands Doctrine against the Securities and Exchange Commission, and they dismissed it just as I said. The plaintiff perjured themselves under oath in an affidavit having attached hereto as Exhibit 1 with regard to the subject matter of their claim. The plaintiff misled the United States District Court by admitting into evidence unsubstantiated public claims about the defendants. Such erroneous claims were used to obtain an injunction from the court to freeze the defendant's accounts. See attached bank statements where they froze my account and took my money. Memorandum in support of motion to dismiss. Plaintiff never served the defendant. There's no third-party contract agreement with the guardhouse at Sugarloaf. The affidavit of diligence that was signed under oath of perjury by Kevin Flatlow had a false statement stating that 73 South Springs Road, he wrote that the house looked occupied, but the curtains were drawn, and he couldn't see no real information. The only truth to this affidavit is that it was a large property because it was a UPS store. These people were lying under oath. All of this stuff that they brought up, they never even produced anybody that they claimed that they were representing. And then they tried to make me give, or how they call it, they said, we want you to repatriate your assets to the United States, when none of these assets came from the United States. They were all global, first of all, and they were private property. And for the record, all assets belong to me, including theirs, because I'm a child of Adam, and they belong to us as his people, God's people. They don't own anything anywhere. A fiction can't own anything because it doesn't even have the hands to sign. It has to be a live sentient being. So everything is owned by the people. If it's a live person that we entrust, yes, he can be the owner. But the state or any state cannot own anything. That's why they can't own property. That's why eminent domain is an illegal statute. Violations, these are the court cases that prove the clean hands doctrine, which the court applies not for the protection of the parties, but for its own protection. It's basically saying that it basically, this clean hands doctrine protects the court itself, you know, the judiciary from being, from the judiciary be counted as a, preserve the judiciary process from contamination. Clean hands doctrine is not applied for the protection of the parties, nor is it a punishment for the wrongdoer. Rather, the doctrine is intended to protect the courts from having to endorse or reward inequitable conduct. That's why everybody that goes into a case, you can't lie under oath. You can't come in there with anything that you haven't thoroughly investigated. And I'm ashamed of these guys. All of them coming in there trying to do this. Locked up my money. Yes, my money is free now, but I don't live there. I can go get it. I don't live in America now. I live in Dubai. I live in Dubai because one thing I can say about this country is that they uphold the law. Everything that they do, they uphold the law. If in the event that there's something that's, of course, nobody's 100%. But, you know, they're as close as possible to the laws that I respect, which is the law of God. And these are all of the exhibits. When they went to this Spout Springs Road and said it was a house, and it wasn't a house, it was a UPS store, Spout Springs Road, the same address. So they lied under oath. And this is what everybody's talking about. Oh, you got this case against the SEC. The case was dismissed, as I showed you in the beginning. And this was the collateral attack from the email where they tried to take all the money from U.S. Capital. That's why I posted the SEC commits fraud against U.S. Capital. And I hope that this video is all that is needed for people to understand what exactly happened in that matter so we can get to some, you know, honest and lawful business. I do not do unlawful business. If there's something that you see that's happening, like for instance, oh, we can't take this from U.S. Capital. Yes, you can. And you have to under law. If you don't, you might turn my anger against you. And the next thing is you will be sued next because I know my rights. So, you know, I know what banks are capable of doing and who is not a bank. But God bless you guys. Enjoy this message. And I hope that it is enough to answer these questions going forth in the future. And we should not be holding back any funds from these people anymore. These people are being destroyed because the wrong people are holding on to it. The money, the purpose of this 1913 Federal Reserve Act was to provide resources for people so that they can create GDP, so that will create gainful employment for everybody on the planet. That's what it's about. God's people helping God's people, and even helping people that are not God's people, but not to do harm. God bless you.
God bless.